Because we're not going to say welcome.
Nope. No, let it ride. Let it ride.
Been gone so long, I feel like we're the physics from, Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem is it's just true at this point. Like, it's not even funny. It's just we all know it.
What, the lack of physics or the us not being here forever?
Both.
We've been gone so long, Jason doesn't even look like Jason anymore. He's lost way too much weight. Proud of you by the end of that.
Thank you. Yeah. Going for another 100-ish pounds or so.
100-ish pounds.
Yep. I say ish because I hitting the gym a little, trying. So I figure, if I don't hit that full 100, then it's probably because of the
hitting the gym without your car this time, perhaps.
I'm not saying I'm not hitting it with the car again, but
what is this? Is this the gym of Billy Joel? What is this?
He wasn't. No, wait, was that someone else? Who was the one that was skiing?
No, Billy Joel crashed his car into at least two different homes.
Yeah, he has.
I think he's also had a motorcycle wreck as well, or
first
something.
Off,
I don't know.
Crashing a vehicle into a house isn't all that uncommon. They tend to jump out in front of you, as I found out the hard way.
Right.
That is true.
Of course.
Oh, see now, Sonny Bono. That's who you were thinking of.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of.
It took me a second. I'm like, no, I know who he's talking. Like, wait, no, I know who. It's like, damn it, what's his name?
Well, I mean, in honor of Fast. No, I'm not going to do that joke. Never mind.
Sonny. Unfortunately, that was a life-ending situation for Mr. Bono.
Same for Walker.
Whereas, Billy Joel's just done enough time to apparently start his own gym. So, he's survived them all.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to Vagabond. It's been a bit, folks.
It has. Yes. Welcome to Vagabond Nerds, where we show up whenever the hell we want and talk about whatever the hell we want. And it's supported, surprisingly, by Jeremy over at Titan Comics, purveyor of fine geeky accoutrement. Again, stuff in the doobly-doo below.
We certainly have had a interesting, month and a half. Life. We'll just say life.
Life is fair. Life is a fair thing to say. Yes.
And Jason, why don't you give the appropriate, congratulations to the word cancer, will you?
Yes. Fuck cancer.
Yeah. There we go. God, it has been so long. I don't even know what we're talking about. Not just today, but any day. Did we all get to see it? The main topic of what today's show will eventually be about.
Have we ever known what we're talking about? I mean, ever?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, even if we pretend we know what we're talking about, we're usually just full of shit. So,
yeah.
That is 100% true. No lie detected.
Yeah. If what you're asking about is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, yes, I have seen it.
Yes.
You did get it to go out and see it?
I did get to see it.
I cannot wait to talk about it, but not yet.
Can't wait to talk about it.
I cannot wait to talk about it. But first.
But before we get into our main topic today on the news.
After these messages.
It will be right back. I feel rusty. Do you feel rusty?
I am not nearly caffeinated.
No, I feel great. I showered and everything. I feel clean.
I didn't ask if you felt
None
dirty.
of my mechanical parts are breaking down or anything. I feel good.
Excellent.
Well, when you hit that age, you'll know.
I've hit that age.
Yeah. You're close to that age.
No,
he's hit it.
I hit that age.
You're close to that age. Wait one more year on top of it. And then you're going to be like, ugh.
Okay, Grandpa. Back in my day, what other speeches you want to give me before we get this thing out? You're not old enough to feel the way I feel.
Snow, ice, and Armageddon.
Those kids get off your lawn finally?
Especially when you electrify the lawn and you turn on the sprinklers. Yeah, they got off.
Oh no, you don't need to electrify anybody. Why? What's wrong with you? You're taking it a step too far there, Boomer. Don't. Wait, am I using that word wrong?
No, you are. No, it's appropriate. I like it.
Sorry.
No, I'm laughing because it was used appropriately. Go for it.
Oh my gosh. As we're sitting here with our coffee, booze, and water. And you can figure out which one of us is doing which. I don't care. Wow. So lots of stuff came out.
Lots of stuff was going on while we were away.
Yeah, lots of stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Really quick. My God, man. Nintendo.
Really quick.
Really quick.
Okay.
Nintendo with Legends of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom in 3 days. So 10 million copies at $70 a pop. Do the math. It's a lot.
Yikes.
Wow. And the game is addictive. It's gotten the best scores that have been out in a long time. I think the lowest I've seen is an 8.7, and it was rare to see anything below a 9.0. They've gotten 10s, 9.9, 9.5. Like I said, that random 8.7 that even made my daughter jump up and go, "Who was that idiot?" So it's pretty funny, you know.
Starts with R, ends with Y.
Yeah, right. So we kind of laughed for sure on that, but it's definitely a interesting take. It's fun. It's a little bit kind of has a horror element to it, which is I don't think Zelda has ever really kind of dealt with. But if you get a chance to play it,
again, the graphics weren't really there for original Zelda, but it the original Zelda was not a horror theme.
The original Zelda was definitely. I mean, it felt like a Dungeons and Dragons situation where it was very, it was medieval sort of fantasy, and it had a horror-esque to it because the villains that you were going to face and fight were, if they were in today's graphics, I think it would have been full-on horror feel to it.
For sure.
But yeah, like Jason said, graphics very limited in that time.
It is an interesting. I was going to say case study, but I don't want to because that sounds really pompous. But
and it's so not you.
Yeah, it's a good game. Shut up. It's a good game. I mean, it really is. And I started playing just a little bit of it. Takes what was done in Breath of the Wild and ups the ante. But again, I think probably with all the peripherals that sold with it and everything else that was coming with it, it's got to be. It had to have cleared 1 billion. Within the first 3 days, which is crazy. I don't think enough people talk about video games that way on how much they make in their first week or whatever, like they do with movies.
Yeah.
But certainly, video games it's higher to me than what movies are currently making.
I mean, I think people do discuss them more. It's just we're not as active in that community as others are. Because I mean, if we were streaming on Twitch, if one of our jobs was to play video games every day, I'm sure that in that community, that information is being bounced around for certain. So, I mean, I saw IGN, was posting some interview with a pretty well-known streamer, and they were just picking his brain about the random stuff he's done in the game. And I'm like, you guys are, to me, it feels like that's scraping the bottom of the barrel for content to try to put just together some interview with a well-known streamer about what they've done randomly in the game. But when you go think about it in reality, it's like, no, the people who are watching Twitch and streaming these things want to know those details. And so I mean, they're mired in it. We just talk about movies more, they talk about video games more, vice versa, whatever. So
for sure.
For sure.
Speaking of movies, we got that one coming up June 2nd, I think, right? As I sit here and read the title.
It's right there where it says June 2nd.
It's right there where it says June 2nd.
There you go.
But they did put out character posters as Jason's dog goes ballistic over
Well, she's excited for the movie too.
She is. You know what she's probably not excited for though on that movie is
Spider Cat.
Spider Cat.
That's from the PS game that they came out with a while back, right?
You mean the Sony game?
Yeah, the Sony game.
It's not the same way. You definitely have a cat that you're able to help and use, and it kind of guides for a little bit, like a little side mission, but not a whole. Not this, right?
It's not this.
Yeah. So, but I'll spent like 2 seconds on the one that you want to talk about, but
yeah. No. Well, go to the spot one real quick, because this is just from an artistic standpoint. Because really, the reason I love these poster designs, you really can't see it on this as well. So go see it online. He's transparent, and what you see are the guidelines that an artist would draw, and it's in non-photo blue. Like his fingers, where there's the volume circles in like the shoulder.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. If you see in the shoulders, the circles were, like they've got the volume guidelines on there as if they've been drawn in non-photo blue. It's the thing about these Spider-Man movies that Sony's making is that they have brought a level of artistry that we're not seeing in these CGI cartoons at all. This is, again, everything else is just brilliant. Like if you go back to the look at the 2099 one, again, sort of like and even the Ben Reilly costume does it a little bit too. It's like, but they've actually animated things that are traditionally, comic reserved artwork, line work. Again, you can't really see it real well on that one, but you can see it's cross-hatched, right? If you have the Spider-Man 29 one, the thing that really
you can
got
keep
me
asking it doesn't mean I'm going to pop it up, man.
Pull it up.
No.
Do it.
Keep talking about what you were talking about.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's the cross-hatching that you're seeing, and a lot of techniques that are traditionally reserved for comics. Like where you have the black outline on the shadow, right, and you have the things coming out. They're not perfect swooshes with like a brush. They're actually whirls, like with a pen. Which and so each character is being given a very unique style that sort of reflects where they're coming from, and that's, utterly brilliant.
I noticed that in the trailer that I saw. Again, I've been watching a lot of stuff without sound lately, just to like, sure, I want the visual stimulation, but I don't want to know what's going on.
Same.
So this isn't visually for anybody. None of this is. But the art style really does come across in the trailer alone. So I get exactly what you're saying, Jason, and this is something that I've been something that I like, and I'm glad to see this making its way into more of a mainstream thing is the attention that the art itself on the paper could and used to translate to an animated feature. You go back and you look at the 1980s cartoons before that, 70s, and Sword in the Stone, the old Disney movies, any anime from late 80s into the mid 90s, whatever.
Oh yeah,
they were all drawn by hand.
Yeah,
they were done. Everything was drawn by hand. You had these people doing backgrounds, and then you had the people doing the stuff on top of that, and then doing the extra effects on top of that. It was layered, and it created its own depth. You lose, I think, that feeling of the depth when you do straight digital animation.
Back when animation studios were sweatshops.
Yeah.
And so I think they're trying to recapture the old sweatshop magic nowadays by trying to find a way to animate it, because it is digital. There's no way this is done by hand. This is, if it's done by hand,
some of it. I was reading.
But I'm saying if it's done by hand, it's done by somebody with a pad and a pen, and they're doing it on this digital pad, and that's tracing it into the production of it. Where I think they're able to get that hand-drawn feel on a lot of these things is going back to the idea of, instead of me using a mouse to draw and point, let me actually get like one of these little pens out, and I'll draw it, and it'll transfer, and that'll do its thing.
It's a lot to be said for that type of art. Definitely that type of animation. Genesis coming in late with he was canceling his pre-order today for Tears of the Kingdom because he thought Breath of the Wild was overrated. Tell you what, Genesis, in the background, think about a game that you love playing, and I'll see if it's overrated or not.
Good to hear from you, Genesis. Hope you're doing well, man.
We've been gone so long. that we didn't talk about the Mandalorian season finale.
We didn't talk about several episodes of The
Yeah,
Mandalorian.
for sure. See, I can't pick on that one, man. Doggone it, Genesis.
Dude, that game
was gold.
Still is phenomenal. Even if you go back and do another playthrough on something you've already done, that game is
Ghost was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm speechless. It's hard for me to really describe how good it was. Yeah, that's an amazing game.
Can't wait for the movie to come out, and I can't wait for the sequel to that to come out as well.
Oh, they're doing a movie for it?
They've been talking about doing a movie for it.
They've been talking about it for a while, yeah. I don't know if it's actually greenlit, but I've heard about rumors,
I'll have to get in touch with my contacts.
I don't care if they do one way or the other. If they did, I think it could be really good. Your contacts, you're an idiot. Sorry.
Say what you will, I get to go see The Flash on Monday.
Oh wow, was that like when I got that early access to go?
Yes,
see,
it's exactly like the early access that you got to go see.
Like 10 years ago when I got that early access to go see those movies, and I had my VIP pass that you weren't there for. Is that
that one? That one for
was that
Star Wars? Was that Star Wars? I think it was Star Wars, right?
It first, maybe. Oh no, it was Star Wars, and it was also what was that horrible bomb of a movie?
Fast and the Furious X.
Justice League. That's what it was. Justice League.
Did you get one for Justice League?
Yeah, I got one for Justice League and for Star Wars.
The last time I got one of those, it was for the very first Iron Man. Didn't even have the end credits. So it's been.
Oh, so like back before
it's been a bit.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. No. So yeah.
Sorry for all that nerd flexing, folks. I apologize.
Don't apologize. Never apologize for nerd flex, particularly on this show.
That's all we do is nerd flex. Very poorly, might I add. So everyone was dogging the Mandalorian. Everyone was like, "Oh, where is this going? It's got no direction." Personally, the season finale, I loved. I love the fact that you could end that series right now, and I felt like it wrapped up just fine. I didn't mind any of the storylines for it.
Yeah.
But
I felt the same. I felt like it wrapped it up, but it was interesting. It wrapped it up, but also opened it up for another series.
Yep.
It was both.
Yeah.
But to your point, if they cancel it and they say, "Nah, we're done," then I mean it's fine. So
perfectly okay with it. That's exactly right. It's exactly right, doggo.
It's that level of excitement. That's
exactly
what you want to have, man.
Exactly. Yeah, very well timed. Dog, are you actually listening to this show?
Yeah, it's saying get off and shut it down. This is horrible.
Yeah, somebody is. At least somebody's listening.
Lord. But yeah, I mean, it was good. Like I'd go into detail, but I feel like everyone else has kind of picked it apart. I would just say that it ended like a happy ending for any type of Western of its day, and then said, if we come back, it's just going to be kind of one-off tales or little bitty arcs that we're going to do.
Which is good.
It's like, if you want to go back to the lone wolf and cub type feel for it, we're here for it.
Which I think was a lot of the criticism that I heard was people were complaining because they were like, what is this show now? It's not the same anymore. I mean, it started out as lone wolf and cub, and now what is it? And it's like, it's grown. It grew on its own, right? I mean, it grew into something a little bit more. It started becoming this whole, let's reunite the Mandalorians and give them Mandalore back. But then to your point, Ray, it finished where it started, which was back in the idea of here we are again with Lone Wolf and Cub. And I think that was I almost feel like that was a slap in the face to everybody who has been earlier. It's like, oh, you want some Lone Wolf and Cub? Here's your Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah. Take your Lone Wolf and Cub.
That's certainly what Filoni was doing. I mean, you got to feel that way. But we all know, like, again, the movie that Filoni is going to be directing for Lucasfilms is going to revolve around all the shows. So,
Which would make sense. He's done all the shows. He's been the creator, director, creative force behind all of it. Like,
him and
he's
Favreau.
been doing this. Well, him and Favreau, but
Filoni for the Mandalorian series.
But I'm just saying, for even longer. Like, Filoni's been doing.
Oh yeah, sure.
Back when it was Clone Wars, and that was Rebels. During the and Rebels, and so during the heyday of the original trilogy when it came out, and people were like starstruck by all the animation and the vastness of it. And let's not forget a whole generation of kids who grew up with that as their first Star Wars. So, people who still love it for those reasons. So
I love the fact that you brought the original trilogy up, because me and Jason are going to argue for a bit, I feel.
all right. Well, I'll just let you guys get...
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't have any popcorn, but I can drink my coffee and enjoy.
Drink your coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get some lime jello out for the wrestling.
For the wrestling. You always want to touch people, man.
All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sign off too. Well, it's been fun today.
See you later.
And that's how you walk away.
I don't need to be there for no lime jello wrestling.
No one wants to be there. I'm not going to be there. It's going to be Jason and his own jello. All right.
No, that's the OnlyFans channel.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Spoilers.
Ladies
and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at timestamp 2403, and this begins the spoilers into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's been out now,
3 weeks, though. It's been out 3 weeks, so if you haven't seen it,
but
on you.
If you haven't seen it, it's your own fault. So, I mean, and you're listening to this now.
We're giving you an advanced warning, so yeah, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I know we all got this. We're getting the jump on this review early here, but 3 weeks into it, you should know
because
by now.
we're on the cutting edge of things, because with all of Ray's contacts.
Of course,
cusp of everything, just right there. Mm-hmm.
Just there.
I mean, we're cresting every wave, and fully on crest the entire time. It never troughs. It always crests around here.
It's all about the toothpaste.
Perpetual crest.
So I want to go into did you like it, did you not? But the first thing I want to say, though, is I love the fact that they let James Gunn, in every Marvel Studios film, when that Marvel Studios scroll starts going, however you want to call it, it's showing the history of the MCU all the way through, usually Endgame and then whatever movie is about to happen. The only time that they didn't do that was in Captain Marvel, where they paid tribute to Stan Lee, who had just passed. Or it was just on Stan Lee cameos.
And Chadwick Boseman.
Mm-hmm. No one passed for this movie, yet I don't know if you noticed, it was nothing but Guardians of the Galaxy on this one. Correct.
It was only the Guardians in that.
Which I loved. I don't know if that's the start, but I love the fact it was just the Guardians. Jason, like it, dislike it?
I liked it. I thought it was a solid wrap up to the Guardians trilogy. The thing James Gunn gets right is the thing that Taika Waititi has the biggest problem with, which is stepping on the drama. James Gunn does not do that, right? He gives you the humor, he gives you the drama, and he gives you that sense of heartfelt, emotional interaction, but he doesn't step on the important bits with the humor. When the humor comes back, it's appropriate, and it doesn't take anything away from those scenes. And James Gunn does something very, very well, which is make you care about the characters and give you the thing we keep talking about the most, personal stakes. Even though you could argue the High Evolutionary is one of those galaxy-spanning threats,
it was a very personal threat. You that it's a dislike thing, and then we were going to go on into that. But thanks for Sean, like or dislike?
Dislike.
I was comfortable to let. I was like, all right, and it's like it's fine. He can go on it. I don't mind. He's very excited. He's very excited about it, and I mean, he does like it, and so I'm not gonna. I don't want to rail on his parade. He apparently can't talk
on this on the other 1,800 shows that he does weekly.
I am down to.
I don't know.
I'm down to 473, and you damn well know it.
Then the high sleeps. He's got a job, and then he's got a horn job. Sean, like dislike?
I've seen a lot of pieces of shit movies in my life, but this was not that. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. It was good. It was very good.
I saw where you're going with it. I loved it. I'm like, nope, please. I want to see this rainbow.
Oh my God.
It was good.
I liked it.
Ray,
I liked
what did you? Okay, you liked
I
it.
liked
All right.
it. I'm gonna keep it that way. Okay, Jason, why did you like it?
It was good.
There we go. I don't disagree with you. I think that is a big difference between Gunn and Taika, where I wasn't as bad about that with Thor Ragnarok as you were. But Love and Thunder was definitely there, where his humor just trumped certain scenes where I was like, yeah, you could have waited just a bit.
Ragnarok was fine. There was nothing. I understand Jason's not a huge fan of it, and I get that because it doesn't. It is a vast departure from the previous two Thors. So if you watch the movies 1, 2, and 3, number 3, you're gonna go, what the hell is this? What am I watching?
Yeah.
And I understand that. So for continuity's sake, yeah, it totally ruined that. But from an aspect of, was it a fun movie? Was it an entertaining movie?
Yeah.
It was. It hit those marks. Love and Thunder, to your point, Ray, was not, and it wasn't entertaining. I mean, the only entertaining part for me was the last 20 to 30 minutes when I got to see the God Butcher actually fighting Thor.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie was pointless. I was like, why are we doing this? Who gives a shit? I mean, no. I mean, sorry. Just
I was like, why should we care about these kids?
I wanted to see. I mean, don't take the words out of my mouth, but seriously. So I mean, I wanted to see more.
Look, cannon fodder.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was going to more or less, or not thought. I think it would have been more entertaining to actually have some higher stakes. This rumored God Butcher coming after Thor.
Have more some Anakin Skywalker moments in that movie.
I don't want to rehash our review. We already talked about this, so I'll move on. My point being, the difference between Taika and Gunn. Gunn feels very intentional with where he places the humor.
Yes.
And Taika feels like Stewart from Mad TV. Look what I can do. I mean, that's just every single time I watch one of Taika's movies, I feel like, look what I can do. And it's just like, dude, I get it.
It works.
You have some insightful pieces of knowledge that you say every once in a while, but I don't care if you can jump half a foot in the air while waving your arms all the time. Taika's movies are for attention all the time. So and see, as coming from someone who knows how to seek attention, I understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Because you jump up and do the all the time.
Really, Taika's movie style is Stewart, and whereas James Gunn's style is John Candy, and I just think they're just very different.
Okay.
This
Sean, that is the best explanation
that Jason could never say
I have ever heard in my life. In comparing them, at no point would I have compared him to Stewart. But you're right. That is one, and then you compare to John Cain. It's like, holy crap! You're 100% correct, sir. You win the award for today.
It is called Today. That's it. It's today.
It's called Today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And it's those things I think where we usually give praise onto movies that sometimes don't deserve it, right? Like I think when the first Justice League came out, we said, yeah, it's good for a 3-part, animated episode. It doesn't mean that we're 100% sold on it, and I think this one is different. This is where I was telling you that me and Jason will probably get into it a little bit. This trilogy of movies that James Gunn has given us, to me, is on par with the original Star Wars trilogy. And I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying it's on par with that. I remember watching the first one coming out going, man, this is what I wanted, the prequels to feel like when they first came out for Star Wars. To get lost in that sense of, space and just the absolute mind-blowing, not just storyline and not just direction or anything else, but just overall, like it was just
the fact that you're in a galaxy
story.
and you
and
feel
I
like
wasn't far away.
Yeah, no. You feel like you're in. You feel like you're in that
Yeah.
story. It
Yeah.
captures you. It puts you in the
Yeah.
place of them, and it's
Exactly.
not just we're all on this planet. It's like no, there's movement both in the storyline and in you because you feel like you're going through this galaxy with them.
Yeah, and it just felt great. And so when I look at the third one, where you've taken the main love interest and made her absolutely hate who she loved in the prior two, you know, you've taken the one who shouldn't love anyone, um,
Yeah.
and is having feelings, not just romantic feelings, haha, um, but also just feelings of family, and trying to explain that to her sister, who was the one trying to explain it to her. Um, One of the greatest and saddest and happiest lines to hear at the end of the movie, talking about you're not Drax the Destroyer. You're a
Yeah.
father. You're a dad. This is who you were meant to be, was
Yes.
a dad. And you know, I'm sitting there just oh my god, because I'm next to my kids,
Yeah.
you know, trying to hold that back, and I'm like, oh my god, it's beautiful. There were just so many moments in here where, to your point, to Jason's point, humor was not stepping on that. It was a legitimate, you know, this is how it should be. The other main thing I loved about this movie is that we all came into this movie thinking half this group's got to die.
Yeah.
You know, for sure, two of the major characters have to die in order for this thing to go on to make sense. And Gunn said, "No, we don't.
Yeah. We don't.
Not
Get,
only
we ain't
am
got to
I going to
kill
prove you wrong,
nobody.
I'm giving everybody a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, forget all of it. It's like everyone's going to walk out of here with a sense of purpose, and a sense of being and feeling complete. And I loved that happy ending that we didn't have to ignore. We actually got to see it, and it felt true to all the characters, you know. And afterwards, you're watching it thinking, "Wow, I thought this person should have died," and you're thinking, "No, I mean, this couldn't have ended better. Nobody had to die,
Yeah.
including the villain."
Right. If they want to, they can bring him back. And congratulations on getting a genuinely, like, again, for years it's been the complaint that the villains have tended to fall flat. But congratulations on creating a charismatic villain that you genuinely want to see burn in hell.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty easy to do when he's torturing animals.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
mean,
I'm just
Once again, Sean,
there's a few
sidestepping the kids he's torturing. Just the animals bothers me.
an entire planet full of animal people. I get what
no,
you're
no,
saying.
no, hold on. No, you never saw him torture a kid in that film. Yes, the kids were locked in cages, and you knew that if they failed him, he was going to wipe them off the face of the earth like he did this entire other planet that he made.
Which he did say.
But you never saw him
That's true.
torture any kids. The only thing you see him do is torture animals. And there's two things that you're not that are taboo and you're not really supposed to do in film or television, which is don't torture, kill animals, don't torture, kill children. So if you torture, kill animals, everybody's gonna be like, I hate that person, and you know, if I see him at my local bar, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of him. So
I think that's why George Lucas doesn't go to bars.
But
yeah, probably.
Anyways, yeah, you never saw him torture any kids. No kids were tortured or harmed in the making of that film,
except for the ones on the planet that got blown up.
Well, those.
Well, yeah, you know, we didn't see that necessarily.
We did. We
outside out of mind, Jason. Come on, give it the program.
No, hold on. Wasn't it Mantis or was it Drax? It was one of the ones near the ship. No, it was Nebula. She turns around and there was the family with the kids sitting there in the front yard and just.
Yeah, no, that does happen. Yes, that's true.
But anyway, and also, and to your point, it's easy to hate somebody who does the things that he does. But
and they did kill somebody. They killed the Queen of the Sovereign. They blew her
up.
Her ship exploded.
Yep.
You know, so they did kill somebody.
Love the movie. Adam Warlock, bit of a waste.
I entirely disagree. I think that is one of the greatest anticlimactic trolls of all time. I think this is what I think. All right. The way I see it was, you know, they put him in the end of Guardians 2 where they're like Adam Warlock and you're like, oh shit, Adam Warlock, here he comes.
Yeah.
And everybody was probably leading up to thinking, oh man, he's got to do Adam Warlock. How is he going to do it? How's he going to do it? How's he going to do it? And James Gunn was like, I mean, I put that in for fun. I really don't think I'm going to do Adam Warlock, but since I did put him in there, I got to do something when he's like, so basically, I'll just make him a young, he is the brain of a child.
Yeah.
The power of a god, but the brain of a child, and he'll just bumble through everything.
Which I do love
And
the High Evolutionary stating outright.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And they're like, we'll pepper little bits of him throughout the entire thing, but it's just all anticlimactic. That nothing happens. The only thing he does is save Star-Lord.
Yeah.
And that's the one, like, he actually makes it through and saves somebody. But other than that, he doesn't do anything. And I think that's the best way James Gunn could have, because he was like, listen, this isn't a story about Adam Warlock, but I've teased it, so I've got to keep him in here somehow. Well, how do I do that? I just suck all the power out of him by making him completely inept and put little bits of him throughout the whole thing so that we know that this crazy dude is chasing these folks. But in true comedic fashion, it's like the Three Stooges every single time he shows up. And I just thought it's one of the best ways to still keep it continuity-wise in the like, yes, we had him in this at the end, and now he's in this one, and he's all the way through it. But the movie's about Rocket. The movie's about the Guardians being a family and loving and keeping after each other. So
I'm loving the fact that one of the highlights for me watching Adam Warlock, where he's just like, put fluffers down. That was just, like, don't kill that. Like, don't harm him, please. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was good. I love the fact that the high.
Show him we mean business.
Well, how much more business can we mean?
I think, yeah.
But I love the fact they did explain. It's like it was the High Evolutionary who didn't let him fully mature, and so it put him in this situation. It wasn't they just screwed up. It was there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason that he is this way, but it also allows him to grow because, like you said, he's sprinkled throughout. The point of him is to say, look, they're changing these people. So when we see the next iteration of the Guardians at the end, he's there, right? They're saving people the entire time, and he's sort of that close-up of, this is a guy who literally tried to kill them, Rocket specifically. And
and they're not subtle about that point either, too, Jason. He says it.
Yeah.
He looks at it, he goes, why? Like, they're saving him from the planet or saving him from the ship or whatever when it's falling, and he just goes, why? And he says, because everybody deserves a second chance. Which also, I think, kind of a subtle, not so subtle nod to cancel culture and, hey, people make mistakes.
Yeah.
I think maybe somebody every once in a while deserves a second chance. So,
well, in a lot of ways, the whole movie was Ray was the one who pointed this out. It felt like you said, I think that's a great point, that whole point of, in many ways, the entire point of the Guardians franchise is that second chance, right? The chance to redeem yourself from past mistakes. But I mean, to Ray's point, he said in many ways the movie felt like a slap in the face to what Taika Waititi did with Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yep. It seemed like he was trying to show him a lot of different things, and I don't think it was purposely. I just think Thor: Love and Thunder put itself in that position to be compared to this, and it was just like it doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be a sacrifice. It can be about second chances. The whole can we lose Sean?
No, I'm here.
There he is. The whole thing about not just second chances, but also Rocket and what he went through, and to show why he's the way he is. But even at the end of it, showing Rocket's heart and where they're telling him, or they're looking at the High Evolutionary, and he's got the gun pointed to his face. He's like, I'm not killing him. And it's that whole there was no redemption needed for Rocket at all, but it was just about that compassion for someone who's done wrong, and can he make a difference? Now, he may end up being still very much the villain that he is, and we see that Rocket really did jack him up when he escaped the first time, so much so that he ripped off his face, which, I gotta be honest, for a PG-13 movie, having him take off his face, that was a little shocking, and they didn't hide from that.
There's a lot of body horror in this.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Most of it was the animated, obviously the animals and everything, which again is just as jarring as anything else. And I do think it's odd though that had there been that much body horror, but it was body horror for humans,
Yeah.
I don't think it would have passed a PG-13
Oh, wouldn't
rating.
have. No, not at all.
And it's so crazy to me that they're like, well, yeah, it's fine. You can show body horror on all these. Just like I mentioned it earlier, is the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars does an amazing job of killing hundreds and thousands of people throughout the course of the entire TV cartoon. And you're like, it's a cartoon. There's so many deaths, and you're like, oh yeah, but they're all just clones. So who gives a shit? And so when you rationalize that, like, oh, this is the kind of death that's okay, but this death is not cool, and it's such a strange juxtaposition of sanity, I think.
Well, and to your point, I think both the Clone Wars and this movie does a great job of saying, yes, to your point, it's acceptable to show this kind of stuff because they're clones or because they're animals, but at the same time, the message in there is it's not okay that they're killing clones.
Right. The message is still that it's not okay. No, the message remains. It's just funny to me that they can. It's funny that the people who are rating these things don't really get that point. They're just looking at it from oh my goodness, somebody died, oh, that's a real person, not a clone. And they're like, well, if it's a real person, by God, we got to make it an R. And it's like, it shouldn't make a difference. It's death one way or the other. So.
It shouldn't. But going back to the beginning of the movie, I thought showing Quill actually going through the emotions of losing a person, which really, the closest I could think of for Marvel to do that was probably in Spider-Man No Way Home, or not No Way Home, but Far From Home.
Far From Home. Yeah.
So he's dealing with the loss of Tony.
Mm-hmm.
But here, it's very much it's part of it. It's Quill just usually gets drunk just to numb the pain, to forget everything about losing Gamora. And I love that they brought back Gamora, not in the way to sit there and say Quill's okay, but it was more or less for Quill to have closure on the fact that he's never gonna, that was a one-time thing. It's not going to be her, might be Nebula, but it's definitely not going to be Gamora anymore, which they do show those pieces of Nebula probably having more of like a high school crush on him, but appreciating the fact of where they're at. And you see that in the beginning where he's grabbing her hand when he's like, Gamora, I love you, or whatever, and she feels a part of it. But she knows it's like, okay, you're still very much in love with my dead sister, which by the way is alive, just a different form of her.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing is Gamora is dead. The Gamora they knew is absolutely dead. This is a different Gamora. So to your point, I mean,
they treat her as such. That's the other thing I like about it.
Yeah, no, there's like, she's not the same person, and it is what it is, and they treat it appropriately. Like you said, everyone grows here. My favorite parts are the little details, right? Like he goes back for the Zune, and you're like, if this mother effer dies because he wanted his playlist, I'm gonna pimp slap James Gunn. And it's like, no, he went back for it for Rocket.
Yeah,
because Rocket was again. Who's listening to it at the beginning? Rocket
is Rocket. Yeah.
Who's listening to it at the end? Rocket.
Yeah.
And what song do they play at the end? The song that we're introduced to Star-Lord with.
The one that starts the entire franchise off. Yeah. No, he wrapped. Ray said it. They gave everybody an ending, happy or bittersweet, whether it may be one or the other, right? Everybody got an ending. I wouldn't, you said happy at first, but I really do think it was bittersweet for several of them. I mean, it's bittersweet for Peter, it's bittersweet for Drax, and the same for Mantis. Mantis is trying to go out and find herself as well. But I think the people who
really
got
quick,
the happiest,
he's a grown man and he still won't mow the yard.
I'd
like to hear more about this story.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, don't get me started. Well, now I want to know.
Yeah, no, that little after scenes bit, I thought that was great. The after credit scene, that was really goofy. But yeah, it like everybody got a bittersweetness to it, and it really did. James Gunn figured out a way to entertain us throughout an entire film and then take all the little, I mean, if I want to get super nitpicky and go back through the other two Guardians movies, maybe I could find something.
Yeah.
But he took all the little threads that were hanging out there and he tied each one off and just said, there, I'm done. And there's my 3 Guardians movies, you know, just I'm out, I'm finished. It does throw out that Star-Lord, then it just says the legendary Star-Lord will return. So it's kind of like, I wonder what that means, how that's going to be interpreted, what it alludes to. But it doesn't say the Guardians. It doesn't say the Guardians will return, which means I think that was James Gunn's little, and I also think Marvel's way to say, listen, James, we understand. We've parted amicably, right? You're not going to be the director for these again, and we understand that, and thank you. So instead, we'll just say Star-Lord will return, not necessarily Guardians, because I do feel that James, Gunn really owned that franchise, that series.
But I also feel like Star-Lord's is too. I mean, not just a part of that. Yeah. So I think whoever's gonna get him, I don't see a solo movie coming with just
I don't
just
either.
Quill, but I think it's probably more or less for the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars that they're coming out. I could see him coming back for one of those two, if not both. But I agree with you. I don't see. I certainly don't see the Guardians that we've had, and I don't really even see the Guardians that were shown at the end.
And that was the other thing I was going to say is I don't even see that. I don't see us with watching Rocket lead. I mean, maybe in an animated or maybe in a short series on Disney Plus or something, but not in a movie format. I really don't think that's. And if they do that, it's gonna be tough to pull off. That's the way I would put it. It's gonna be really tough to pull off.
Yeah, this is a series that it's Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, but it could easily have been James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think I want to see. I almost don't want to see another interpretation of the Guardians that's not done by Gunn, and we know that's not going to be for sure, maybe not possible in the near future, just because of him being with DC now and Warner Brothers. But bringing one or two of them separately, I think is possible.
Yeah, well, again, to your point, he redefined these characters. Like these are with the
this is not the comic.
Yeah, this is not the comic at all. We've talked about this. It's like I'm not one who's like it's got to be perfect to the comic. I'm the one who says no, things need to be adapted. The biggest changes are literally Star-Lord and really Star-Lord period, but Nebula also is a radical departure. Yondu is probably the most radical departure. But
because Yondu used to lead the actual
he was a good guy. He actually just shot arrows. Like again, all of these characters are radical departures. Drax is not the same character. None of these characters are the same, but those were probably the biggest.
Gamora's not a hero.
No.
At all.
It depends on what era she's in. But the simple fact of the matter is these were just it was very much James Gunn's interpretations and recreations of these characters. So to your point, I agree. I'd like to see them do something different. I did like that if you notice that end screen where it says the legendary, and we know that's because what he said the very first film, the legendary Star-Lord. You notice the colors are reversed for that? Because every time and so will return, it's a black screen with white text.
Oh yeah. No, I see what you're saying. This time it was a white screen with the other text on top. With black. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That was different. So
they kept it in the font. They used it in the Guardians of the Galaxy font.
They kept it in the Guardians font.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's again, everything about this movie was different and had a very specific touch to it. And
only made me tear up like 3 times.
Yeah. It had heart. Again, there were personal stakes. Marvel's. This did not have the Marvel third act issue at all.
Oh my God, Jason! Thank you for saying that, because I am the one that always harps on that. Like it's not about they have to go grand and big, and he started right. Yeah. I mean, and then right back down to having that conversation between all of them and the High Evolutionary. I like it. It went back to being what it was supposed to be. It's personal, and it was again personal and about forgiveness. I love that.
And the humor was still there. Because as Star-Lord and Groot are jumping off the freaking spaceship as the rest of them are getting onto the spaceship. So they're like
Yeah.
two ships crossing in the night,
Yeah.
And they're like, "We're here to rescue you. Where are you?" Like, "I'm on the ship." "I'm not on the ship. And the fact that they
Well, how
were
did you get off
swapping
the
every-
ship? We jumped.
We didn't know.
We
He's like, "Don't you assholes know I have a plan to get
Yeah.
out of everything?"
Yes.
And just that whole bit, like, again, the
Yes.
humor is put in precisely where it needs to be, but it still carries through the drama.
Yeah.
And I do think that this was actually the familial humor and the familial strife was way better in this than it was in Guardians 2. They
Completely
did a
agree.
much better job being, arguing as a family the way they are, and James Gunn did a much better job with that writing, or him and his team, whomever. I think it was written by him though, wasn't it?
It was, but I think that was on purpose. I don't think that was an accident. I think it was the growth of that family, and seeing them as that.
What I mean though was the placement of the arguments was better in this than it was in Guardians 2. In Guardians 2, it was a little off from time to time where it felt
That's fair.
slightly forced. This one did not feel forced. It had a much more, flow to it.
Yeah. I'll give it to you. Absolutely.
That's the way I felt. I mean, obviously, it's everybody's opinion, but I did feel that he placed it much better in this one than he did in Guardians 2.
I think this is what we want from a trilogy structure. Go out on a high note. Go out with everything, to your point, where it should be. And again, the parts you should feel sad, you feel sad. It's not a forced. To your point, it's not a force. No, I got to feel sad because they just told me I have to. No, it's earned.
Yeah.
And I do love the fact that it also closed where it began, in the fact that Peter returns home, right?
Yeah.
And who is it? Oh my gosh, I just forgot Antenna Girl's name.
Mantis.
Mantis points it out to Peter, like, you've been running.
You've been running your whole life.
Your entire time. Like, how are you telling us to get our stuff together when you yourself haven't been back to Earth since you left?
Yeah. And then, she points out the same thing. Was it her that pointed out the same thing? She was like, "Peter, you were abducted. Like, you don't know what your grandfather thinks. Maybe he was just struggling with the death as well."
Yeah.
So pointing
that out to him was
great.
Because she actually told him, she goes, "Your grandfather lost a lot more that day than you did."
Right. He lost you, his daughter, and his daughter.
And it was just using Mantis as kind of the narrator for everybody and pointing out their problems, I think and it makes sense because her character is one that's steeped in emotions when she wants to, and the fact that she
she's a telepath,
vocalized that instead of forcing them to see that was also a really good touch by Gunn.
Oh, the scene between her and Nebula when she's like, he's the only one of you who doesn't hate himself.
Yeah, that was really good. And he's like, "I don't think I enjoy this line of compliments." His line while she's talking, she's like, "Yes, he's an idiot." And he's like, "I don't really enjoy this pep talk anymore," whatever it was.
Exactly.
But the fact that she says forget or whatever, and he goes right back to it, that almost felt like a bit of a betrayal in a way, but I understand why she did it. It's like, she's like, "No, you're pure, and there's no need to ruin that," So.
And it was, again, it felt normal. It felt like it should have been there. It's not, again, Sean, going back to your point, it wasn't forced.
No, never.
And I never pictured the fact that they would take that and just be like, you don't have to be the destroyer. You're dad. That's what you were meant to be. And seeing that knowledge in him too, knowing that that's what he was meant for, strikes home to the fact that he lost his wife and daughter. And to see him dancing at the end. That was pretty, goofy, but it wasn't because he was with anyone else. It was the kids that surrounded him.
Right. He was dancing with the children he was enjoying the innocence of children, the fact that they just had this energy that, we lose a little bit of that as we get older due to outside influences, so, I mean, and realities of life. So it was, again,
to me, this trilogy, and Jason, this is where you can tell me I'm right or wrong. Not that I care, but this trilogy to me is on par with that original Star Wars trilogy. I mean, hands down. And it actually ends, I feel, a little bit better than what the Holy Trilogy does. And it's two different things. I get it. I get it, right?
The Holy
The Holy
Trilogy.
Trilogy. It's a Kevin Smith joke. Shut up.
Yeah, it's a Kevin Smith joke.
It's not a funny one. It doesn't matter whether it's whose joke it is or not. It's one that doesn't bear repeating.
Yeah.
Are you done? Are you done?
Never.
Quit killing it. No, but to me, it is on par with that original Star Wars.
Jason, please answer his question since I, interrupted.
Since he's being mean.
I just don't think it's on par. I think it's definitely good. I mean, it's a good trilogy. James Gunn did a great job with this trilogy. Again, the beginning of the movie was a little clunky, but I'm okay with it. It was just, I just don't think it's on par with the original Star Wars or like say the Lord of the Rings, right? I think it's up there. Now, you want to say it's better than the prequels? I'm right there with you.
So let me ask you a question though: is that because go back and watch the original trilogy?
Yeah, I know.
Of Star Wars. Is that just a nostalgia thing for you?
It's not nostalgia. I think there's a thing where you have to. In the same way, I don't like when.
I like when Sean looks up like he's looking at Jason.
Yeah. Now I can't unsee that.
Here's a story
of a lovely lady. Yeah, no, Star Wars was breaking.
Sorry about that, man.
Yeah. Star Wars was breaking ground. It was doing something different. I get where you're coming from. I really do.
Has nothing to do with the story.
Yeah, it does. It does.
No, you just said it was breaking ground, and you're not wrong. But
yeah,
again, comparing this story to story, I'm even leaving out the graphics for this, right? I don't.
Well,
care
yeah,
about
of course
that.
you leave it. Yeah,
story to story.
Can't.
I think it's on par.
I just don't. I mean, it's just beneath it. I think Star Wars is just a much tighter narrative structure, and that's not necessarily James Gunn's fault because honestly, that's Marvel messing with what he was doing. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that you're necessarily wrong, except you're absolutely wrong. It's just, I just don't see it on par. Does it maybe belong in that echelon? I'll give that to you. I think where it's like, hey, these are solid trilogies that you can point to. It's like this is how you do that thing. It belongs on that pedestal. I'll agree with.
You're still not really making your point for it though. It sounds like it's more of a nostalgia thing for you, man. And I'd rather you come out and say that. You're like, dude, it's nostalgia. I'll never be able to get past watching Star Wars for the first time. Blah blah blah. I would accept that, but
I just think it's okay. I just think again, Star Wars just it was a tighter story overall. It was more the direction was overall okay. Great example. The opening.
I doubt it, but go ahead.
The opening 20 minutes of Guardians 3 was clunky. The whole going to the living spaceship thing. It's not wrong. It's just the pacing got a little clunky. It got better as soon as they made Counter Earth. Everything's fine. It was just a little clunky. That's all.
It didn't feel clunky to me.
I don't.
It just felt clunky to me. That's it. I mean,
it didn't feel clunky to me. I mean, no more
clunky than Ewoks.
You do not ever. You get the Ewoks names out of your mother effing mouth.
I will say this to end this pointless comparison. I think that they're both good in their own right, and I mean, the trilogy of Star Wars, the original trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6 are always going to hold a special place in my heart because of when you saw them. Just like the experience of going to the movie theaters for me and seeing the original Lord of the Rings in theaters holds that special place in my heart for those things as well. And the same goes for, I think, Guardians for the trilogy here. They're different. They are, I think, equally as good. But I don't think any one is better than the other because between Jason's comparison of storytelling, writing, and timing and things together, and Ray, between your views of the emotion and the tightness and how they come together, and the fact that maybe overall as a story this is comparatively as good, there's other things that you have to throw in there too. There's the time that you saw them in your life and how they affected you at that time. There's the time that they were written and how the writing was done at that time and how it was accepted to write a film and portray it and put it out into the world. There's the technology that influenced what people did or didn't do in the midst of all their writing and how that changes what they're going to tell in terms of a complete story. So trying to say this is better or worse or equal than any of the others is kind of futile. I just really think it sits with you and whether or not you think that's better for you than it is for others. It doesn't impact, you know, the way I feel or the way Jason feels about anything else, but it's, you know, it's good. Because, you know, you're in a very narrow window here of saying trilogies. I mean, I know we've come to understand that trilogies are just the way Hollywood makes movies nowadays. But, you know, you could put this up against the Matrix trilogy and this is going to beat the pants off of it every time. And that's not because the first Matrix wasn't astounding. It's because the other two that followed it were total bags of junk, you know? Rocket wouldn't steal a piece from any of those fucking movies. So, I mean, it's just not happening.
Except the Zune.
You know, so, I mean, that's the thing is they're just all different. And I think this is a great trilogy. It's really good. I think, again, James Gunn did a phenomenal job putting a bow on everything.
By the way, I also love the fact that you can watch this and understand the Gamora of this time because they decided to put in a quick 30-second rant about what happened.
Yes.
And even said, well, that's about the gist of it. You know, again, you can watch these three without having to watch any of the other MCU. And I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And still understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, agreed.
And I
love the fact that of the three of us, though, Sean is a hippie. He's like, because he's over here, it's like, we can all hold hands, sing Kumbaya. It doesn't matter. You know, we can all love each other.
Not at all.
I didn't say anything about that.
I think he hates you enough to not be considered a hippie.
That's not true. Hippies hate me a lot.
You and I haven't driven in the car very often. I am definitely not a hippie. Get out of my lane.
I have, and it's scary, by the way.
It's not that scary. It's fine.
And then if you ride shotgun with you, turn here. Yes, dear.
Well, that's just because you can't drive.
No, I can drive just fine. You just weren't used to being in that truck.
All right, Miss Daisy, calm down.
No, you would be driving. Movies that I now want to see. Obviously, I think Spider-Verse 2. By the way, Guardians, whole thing. Yeah, all of them, all three of them. Yeah. Way to go, Mr. Gunn. I feel like Superman's in the appropriate hands.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing it again, just to get another, you know, watch it from a review perspective and not just an enjoyment perspective, because obviously second viewings change, you know what I mean? And there's a very big possibility that my feelings will change after watching it another time. But first viewing, good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff.
Oh, two quick little Easter egg things that are good tying everything together points on that. When they're playing poker, right? Cosmo and Kraglin, all them with Howard the Duck, you realize that the other guy at the table is the
guy that was the gemstone. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And the people that they're saving at the end is the same species as the people who were as the slaves that the collector had.
Yeah. Yes. No. Yeah. Those folks. And then, you know, there's also good grief.
And the fact that nowhere has become a refuge for
has become
a refuge for everybody. Yeah. When they're in nowhere before all the swarms of the hellspawn descend into nowhere, one of the dudes who's standing with Nebula or with somebody on the planet, I forget who it was, Drax or whomever, that's in nowhere. That's or no, not Drax. It's what's Sean Gunn's brother's name in this again?
Oh,
Kraglin.
Kraglin. The guy who's standing next to Kraglin is the lead singer from the old 97s from the old 97s Christmas special. Yeah.
Who did? Yeah, I was going to say who did the Christmas special thing.
Oh, yeah.
The Christmas special. So they tie everything together. Like everything is in this. All of them come together in that. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The ongoing joke in that movie as well Yeah, you got one of those too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got one of those. He's an idiot.
Oh man, I totally forgot about his part. Nathan Fillion was a really good addition to this franchise and being in this movie the way
Yeah.
it was. I thought this was really cool. I heard later after I was trying to dodge all the reviews online and stuff that he was in it, and I was like, okay, he's attached to this, but I don't know in what respect. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to play. And also, good on the folks who were posting reviews and spoilers and things about it online. Some of the folks said like clickbaity titles that was like "Who dies in Guardians of the Galaxy 3?"
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to see this. Like I had to keep going past them, just trying to exist in everyday life. And you mentioned it earlier, Ray, is that no one has to die. No one did die. So even the clickbait was good at keeping things,
Yeah,
guessing,
nothing leading up to me watching it was spoiled, and that, to your point, was very difficult to do.
Yeah, I
It
was
was,
doing
it
the
was
same
tough,
thing.
man.
Yeah,
it was tough
like
because
nope.
Yeah, because again,
Yeah.
life interfered with us being able to watch this any sooner than what we could.
Right.
And it's just, yeah, it was a difficult time traversing everything to make sure I didn't get spoiled with anything.
Mm-hmm. So you said trailers.
Yeah, I was gonna say trailers.
Yeah.
So the movies I'm waiting for next, Oppenheimer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that does look good. That
Really want to
good.
see that. Now
Absolutely.
I'm waiting for also The Creator, which I just saw that, and I was blown away by that trailer, and hopefully it's good. But then, obviously, the big one in November, and I don't mean the Marvels, I mean Dune Part 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
can't wait for that one, man.
Yeah.
I hope it is. I mean, the first one, I can't wait. I really want it to be as good and to continue in the vein of the first one, as beautiful and as well paced and as well told as the first one. Because even though it was super freaking long, I've seen it so many times. I've seen it many times, and I never feel like I'm watching an almost 3-hour movie. I don't feel that way. Part one, a 3-hour part one of a movie.
Yeah,
I don't feel that way at all.
I've rewatched it a number of times. It's almost become a go-to for me. And Nathan, because he's usually the one who's home with me, even he's like, "Oh, you're gonna play Dune?" He goes, "Okay, I'll watch it with you." Like it's that darn good. Like Chrissy doesn't like rewatching movies, but she'll rewatch it with me. It is it's brilliant.
I can't have it on in the background.
Because
you know how you have that one movie on the background, because then I'll be like,
you'll be staring at it.
They're watching it.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those.
It's
movies.
brilliant.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. I hope to be pleasantly surprised by The Flash. I'm actually going in with kind of low expectations. Hope I'm proven wrong. I am getting tired of all the people going, "Oh, it's so good, it's going to make you forget about whatever Ezra Miller, did." No, it's not going to make me forget about him being a douche. Like, it may be good. I may say, "Hey, he did a good job acting," but he's still.
Hey, listen. Once again, just like in the Guardians, everybody deserves a second chance. And you and I don't know him personally, and we are not in his social circle or orbit. So let's let the shit that he did be the shit that he did.
Yeah, maybe not you.
Maybe not you,
me.
Sean.
But he's got the connections.
I got connections.
I forgot about all your Hollywood elbow rubbing. All right, so listen, next time you're around Ezra or somebody that he may or may not have abducted, tell him I said hello. I'm just kidding. I don't know the guy.
Wow,
Just
you're
saying.
talking about. That's funny.
I don't know the guy. Who gives a shit? It's just my thing is a lot of people
I mean,
like to jump on the band. They like to jump on the bandwagon of canceling folks, and it's like, can't we go back to the time when we didn't really, when you remembered that, hey, just because you just read it online doesn't mean you know what happened. So
I am always
settle down until the court decides it. So.
Yeah,
I'm always floored by the amount of people who don't want to forgive something that has happened and something that maybe the guy is legitimately apologetic for and sincere in what he's talking about. I don't know. Again, we don't know that case here, but
I don't know the case. I'm not making an argument for his case either. I'm making an argument that we don't need to jump to conclusions.
Right. But it's jump to conclusions either way. Like I don't want people to sit there and say, oh, you're going to forget about it, dude. Well, one, I don't know that.
Right.
if the movie does well, I hope that's not going on in the back of my head, and I know for
Right.
some viewers that is definitely the case. I'm not a fan of what Kevin Spacey did and what he was actually accused of, but it's not going to stop me from watching The Usual Suspects. Like, it's a great flick, great movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. No, there's a lot of that. The cancellation stuff is just like where their reputation is ruined, and they're always like, now you can't be in movies or anything anymore. Again, when it's something egregious and it's real, and it's not just a drummed up thing that's been overblown by social media because people want it to be a scandal and salacious, and they want it to be terrible. I get it. When it's real, I get it. It's like, yeah, that's a terrible thing, and that person should go have to suffer the consequences for what they did.
Yeah.
Like people who have gone to jail and suffered the consequences. If our law has deemed that you are redeemed and you have shown that you're redeemed, well, then guess what? Now it's time for you to get your second chance. You can't just continue to hold people over a barrel the whole time.
Look at Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Everyone's forgotten about that.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes, right? I mean, like I would love to see him come back and do some more stuff. There's people who have done bad things in their past, and they deserve to go through redemption and get a second chance. I mean, again, it's hard to say because it's like people always like, but then what about this and what about this? And I'm like, look, within reason, right? I still hold grudges against people all the time. I'm no saint.
Thanks, by the way.
Not you, Matt. So, but just saying, right? Like, don't.
You know what, Sean? Here's this paper bag. Here's this plastic bag. Go play with it.
Sometimes people just don't need to speak up, dude. That's all I'm saying.
No one's going to get that except for the three of them.
But so listen, I'll tell you what I'm not waiting for. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm waiting for and when I'm happy it will be over.
Okay.
Dial of Destiny. I don't care about Indiana Jones. It needs to end. I think they ruined it when they did Crystal Skull. They ruined it. They shouldn't have done Crystal Skull. That was a terrible film.
There is a ton of backlash right now.
I don't want them to do this one. I understand that Harrison Ford did it, and he could still do what he can do in it. I mean, the dude's. I'm not being an ageist. If not 80, but I'm not being an ageist. Right, that's not my point. He can absolutely act. He's on some new Apple Plus program right now with
Shrinking.
Fantastic. Which I've never seen, but I've seen really good pieces from it.
Fantastic.
And it looks really good. He's 80. And he's still fit, walking around, doing his normal thing. He's not using a cane. He's not like broken down. So good genetics, good health, well-rounded, well-minded individual. But I don't want to see Indiana Jones anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Indiana Jones anymore. And if this is them passing the torch to what's her face as his granddaughter,
goddaughter,
grandniece or some shit like that, goddaughter, I don't remember. Then fine, pass the torch. But seriously, this better be better than the Crystal Skull. And if it's not, shame on you.
Having watched the Crystal Skull recently, I don't find as much fault with it anymore.
It's a terrible film.
Definitely not any of the original three, but it's not as horrible.
There's a good trilogy. The first three.
Number
4 soils the name though. That's why you end things when
according to a couple of reviewers who have seen it from Cannes, they're like, this one is even worse than that.
I've heard.
And they're like, they should have ended on 4. Okay,
that's wild when someone says it should have ended on 4. It should have ended on 3. But no, I'm looking forward to this being over and done and not having to see or hear anything more about Indiana Jones.
Honestly, don't care if I catch this in theaters or not.
I'm not anticipating it. My anticipation is please get it over with. That's my anticipation. What I am looking forward to is Gran Turismo by Neil, but I mentioned that.
Who thought that would be an interesting take?
What I love about it though is it really is based on a true story. There was and I forget the driver's name, and I think he was in. He may have been in one of the Grand Touring races, or he might have been in IndyCar, or he was in Formula One. Obviously, it's like, great, Sean, you've just nailed them all. Way to go.
Yeah.
You know,
he's in one of those racy thingies.
He's in one of those races where they drive a car. He had never driven a car like his entire life, but he was a video gamer. He was a racer. And
Jan Mardenborough,
maybe, sure,
I think was the guy's name.
I remember that he got drafted or recruited to actually really race, and he went and really raced. And I think that's a fascinating. The fact that it exists, and then they decided to say, let's do a Gran Turismo movie, which is tied to the video game franchise, and then we'll actually do the movie about these kids playing Gran Turismo and getting into the real Grand Touring car series. I just think that's a great take on it, and I like Neil Blomkamp's style, his directing style. So I do want to see how this plays out, and I'm not hyped, but definitely. That is what I would like to see in the theaters. I think that would be a great movie to see in the theaters.
Yeah. Or home theater.
Or what?
Home theater.
Or home theater, whatever.
Just
whatever.
Throwing that out.
Whatever, man. Yeah.
Jason, close us out.
I hope this was everything you wanted it to be and more. We'll be back at some point in the future. I can't even say near future. But we will be back. What are you doing?
Did that just happen?
It did happen. Whenever you started the audio, it cut the mics.
Yeah, cut your mic.
It cut Jason's mic.
Weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
All right.
Try it again, Jason. Sign us one more time.
We're gone. Be good.
There you go. Everyone, be kind, be peaceful, forgive. Deuces.